Well, here we are back again with part 3. You know, every time I try to make a recording, I get interference. I'm sorry about the telephone ringing in the background. Usually I have dogs barking and children screaming outside the windows, but it's been pretty quiet today. Telephone's been ringing off the hook. Whoever it was that called me, I was right in the middle of this video making, and so I guess I'd have to apologize for not answering the phone. Anyway, this is part number 3, and Lady is anxious to get on with it, so I'm just going to turn it over to her right now.
There were those Sunday mornings when we'd go to the park and he'd let me chase all the ducks back into the pond where they belonged. Then there were the times when just he and I went on hunting trips. I remember the long, long walks we used to take. When Cass used to work a little, he took me with him and I'd lay at his truck and protect it from all intruders. In spite of all of Cass's problems, there were hundreds of wonderful, beautiful times we spent together. This next little story I'm going to tell, Cass would be able to tell it better than me, but it was special, so I'm going to try. This took place in Sugar House. A stray cat found a shelter in Cass's workshop towards the end of the winter. She gave birth to 9 little kittens. Because of her weak condition and the bitter cold weather, she died during the process. However, I found them and I barked for help. Cass came to the rescue. He cleaned up the poor little kittens and buried their mama. He fed those little guys with an eyedropper several times a day until they were able to eat on their own. It was a miracle that all 9 survived, and you guessed it, I became their new mama. I protected them, kept them clean, and did everything a good mama should do. It was a sight to see when I'd take them for a walk, or for that matter, anywhere. Anywhere I'd go, they would follow me, all 9 of them in a row. It was a sad day when we had to give them away, but you can rest assured that Cass found them all good homes. Our next move was from the ghettos to a suite in a downtown hotel. Only this time there was 3 of us. Cass had his lady friend and me. This was the first time that I'd had to share Cass's affections, and it made me a little jealous. Her name was Julie, and she treated me nice, so I had to accept her. That's all there was to it. Cass called us the Misfits, the 3 Misfits. I guess Cass could tell that I was a little jealous, because one day, when there was just the 2 of us, he told me that he loved only me and that no one else would ever take my place. This made me so happy, and I never got jealous again. Cass worked as a bartender during the day, and he was a bouncer at night, but he always kept me with him, which was real nice. But I have to be quiet and stay out of sight. Sometimes early in the morning, about 3 or 4 o'clock, we go for a walk around the city and see the city lights. These were good times. He talked to me and shared his innermost thoughts, and Julie wasn't with us very long. I heard that she was shot, but I'm not sure. All I know is one night she left and never came back again. We lived in a hotel for almost 2 years. I remember one night Cass said, "Come on, lady, we're moving. I can't take this kind of life anymore." This time we moved into a big old house that needed a lot of fixing. My master was the fixer-upper. I loved the place because it had a big yard that I could run around and play in most every day. This is where I met my Uncle Willie. He was a great guy. He used to draw pictures all the time. He even drew a picture of me and painted it up real pretty. Things were peaceful and calm for a couple of weeks until Cass's old buddies started coming around. All of a sudden it was Party City again, just like it had been on 6400 South State. Cass was getting bad. He was sick all the time. If he didn't have alcohol around, he would shake and throw up and see things that weren't there. I knew he needed help, but what could I do? Sometimes I even thought he was going to die. If you think dogs don't pray, let me tell you, you're wrong. I prayed for my master all the time. Finally one day he grabbed his chest and fell on the floor. I thought I'd lost him forever. When someone burst through the door, it was Tammy, Cass's daughter. She took complete control, called an ambulance, and had him rushed to the hospital. The doctors said he would have died if she hadn't have found him and did what she did. All I know is my prayers were answered that day, in more ways than one. Woof, woof. Cass was alive. He survived. He survived a heart attack and 10 years of drunkenness. He swore to God Almighty that he'd never touch another drink, and as long as long as he lived, and as far as I know, he never did. For as long as I'd lived with Cass, his life had been without direction. I remember one night when he was talking to me, he said, "Lady, sweet lady, 10 years I've been dead. I've come back to the living and I've got to make amends. Time is short, but it's got to be done, and it's got to be done by me." I loved my master, and my master loved me. And that's my story. Thank you for listening.